All right. So before we get to our fourth team, which for me was the most difficult one left for me, tell me how you think Purdue and Matt Painter, you spoke to him for the preview. How do you think he's going to handle this Zach Edey, Trevion Williams thing? How do you think it ends up shaking out?
I honestly think it could be one of the toughest things of his coaching career, because you very easily could have a player who was first team All Big Ten coming off the bench this season. And it would be a production deal. It's not that he'd be playing bad. He just might not be playing as good as the other guy. And who knows? Like, Trevion could play great. Yeah. Zach Edey could maybe regress a little bit from what he's doing in practice. And you saw him. The reports out of West Lafayette had all been that he is playing phenomenally.
Everybody at all times.
It's the only position on the floor where you would be hamstrung into saying, we really can't play these guys together. Like, if you had 2 point guards who were phenomenal, yes, you'd be like, all right, we'll move on off the ball. We'll find a way. Like Kentucky, like, they're going to probably play Severe Wheeler and Ty Washington together a ton. Yep. But with the way the game is gone, it's not like you're playing the New York Knicks from '93 where you're like, all right, don't worry. We got Patrick Ewing out there and Xavier McDaniel and Antonio. Like, we got all these guys. It's not like that. Like, Charles Smith is not playing the 4 when you've got Patrick Ewing at the 5 and the X-Man at the 3, right? Like, so you can't really
look at you dropping X-Man reference,
right? And to me, it will be production oriented. If Zach Edey's killing, you're going to have some maturity from a guy who's a senior to understand, right? And same for Zach. Like, if Trevion Williams has got it going and he's passing and he's scoring on the block like he really can, yeah, you're going to have to be mature and be like, look, tonight it's just not, my minutes are not going to be there.
Right. And
they're going to have that issue across the board in a lot of positions, which, again, good problem to have, but we'll see how mature they are. And that's by no means a diss, because everybody that plays wants to play. There's no player at that level that's like, well, I'm okay with playing 10 minutes a game, even though I was first team all league last year.
Well, Trevion's going to be the one that it's going to be harder for. Zach Edey just started playing basketball 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
He didn't play a ton last year. If he has a little bit of
but if you're murdering these guys in practice,
right? Yeah,
it would be hard, because you're like, dude, I kick this dude's butt in practice every day, and I'm not saying he is, but
no, he did the day I was there.
He did in the scrimmage that they had too, where he had like 36 and 14.
Who did? Zach
Edey. In the inter squad scrimmage they had, he had now I don't think he played as well against Providence in their scrimmage, but it would be hard as a player when you're like, I am seeing what I'm doing and I'm playing at the highest level I ever have, and it's better than this guy on a consistent basis. And but I do know this. I do know that Matt Painter is loyal to his seniors, which a lot of coaches are, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, because Trevion Williams has won them a lot of games. But I do think that it will be the hardest deal of his coaching career.
It's crazy. I mean, it's one of the more intriguing things about this season. I mean, to be honest, is what he does with those two. And obviously point guard play is going to be important, but how do you make sure you keep them both happy? And are they team? I think they're both team guys, but there's a difference.
But you know what? That to me is unfair to even say that, because you can be a team guy and still be pissed about your minutes.
Of course.
Especially when you're playing good. That doesn't mean you're not a team. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I hear what you're saying, but that's a tough deal. It's a really tough deal.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so go with your fourth team. And then
I said Kentucky, Gonzaga, UCLA, Michigan.
Oh, you did them all. That's right. Okay, so my fourth, I'm still debating between Baylor and Alabama. And I don't know where to go with it. I'm tempted to go Baylor. Again, my whole thing, where I start with, and you went, what do you do? Michigan, UCLA. Okay, so I wouldn't have gone Michigan because I don't know how good Devontae Jones is yet. And for me,
I said I'm going out on a limb.
Yeah,
I am going all off potential.
I need to know point guard situations. And I'm not saying like James Akinjo is the greatest point guard in the world, or Javon Quinterly, neither one. But they're both veterans. They've been around a while now, both of them.
Sure.
They've both gone through some adversity, right? I mean, Akinjo started at Georgetown, didn't work out for him there at all. Goes to Arizona, playing with a bunch of young international guys, kind of frustrating there. Now he's a culture guy at Baylor, right? They bring him in and you become a culture guy, and it's hard to go against Baylor. I mean, it's hard to go against them. Kendall Brown's terrific as a freshman. Flagler, I don't know.
Who just got hurt for them? Was it LJ Cryer's out for the year?
No, it's the Langston Love.
Oh, Langston Love. Yeah. Okay.
Cryer was great in their scrimmage. Great.
He's good, man. He's waiting his turn.
Yeah. He may get it. He may get some of it. I mean, he's not going to get 35 minutes, but
I meant last year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to play some this year for them.
He will. And Meyer, I guess Matthew Meyer is probably the X factor, right?
Love his game.
Who doesn't love his game, right? I mean, everybody probably wanted
people that love consistency might not love his game. The guy that's going to bring it 110% of the plays might not necessarily. They're going to love his talent, but
But you would have loved to have had. You never had that green light. I mean, you never had that conscience, I should say. You had a conscience.
It affected me much more when I missed shots. I also have not even close to the level of athleticism that Matt Meyer has.
We know that.
Well, I know, but you watch him in warm-ups, dude. He's throwing it up there and catching it back here and just freaking.
You know what you should have had? You know what you should have had back in college? The mullet.
The mullet. He's got a great haircut. I mean, it's hilarious. He can pull it off, though. When your game is like that, you can back it up.
You can have the mullet. You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
I mean, he's like the most carefree dude. He's just like, I saw him in Waco, and it's just,
He's Austin, Texas at the highest level. He is Austin, Texas.
And Texas never wanted him. I don't think anybody, I mean, he was like a fringe top 100 kid, but
he's like 6'9", just freaking.
I like Baylor. I do. I like Baylor just because, again, and I think Kendall Brown's got to get healthy. That's a big part of them.
Do you think that what we saw from Chama Chachua last year before he got COVID, I mean, he was an animal. And the way he runs the floor, I would think if he's healthy, he overtakes Flo Thamba. Thamba's probably more solid.
Yeah.
But Chama Chachua is an elite athlete. They
elite.
Still have so much talent.
He plays so hard.
Really good. He's really good.
He plays so hard, Rob. That's the thing with him is like those two bigs, though, they are what they are, right? They're not going to give you a lot of scoring, but you don't really need a lot of scoring if you have some of those other guys around them.
Right.
So I think Baylor's won. And again, choosing Alabama, Shackelford's back. They've got this kid Bediako, who's they really like as a freshman. JD Davidson's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Top 10 recruit, maybe the most athletic dude in the class. I don't know. He's up there. I mean, he's a freak. I just don't know how much of a factor he'll be. I don't know how.
I think their style of play too is hard.
It is.
I mean, the way that Nate Oates coaches, and shout out to Nate Oates' wife, who's a longtime listener of the podcast. I would never hate on Alabama ever again after.
Because you did for a while.
Well, I needed to see it, and then they started getting it done. I did.
Last year, about this time, you were a Crimson Tide hater.
It was a little later. It was in the early games. Like but you know what it was? I was blinded by Doster's just stupid comments about Alabama.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Just
the
over the top, like that's all it was. It was nothing against the Crimson Tide.
All right, well, that's good. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that it was nothing personal against Nate Oates or Crystal Oates, and it was strictly your lack of evidence and knowledge about what was going on down in Tuscaloosa. Now you're on board. You like the Crimson Tide. Again, it's hard to find that fourth team. I don't think Duke's point guard situation. There's a lot of questions there right now. I don't know what they're going to do there. You look at some of the other teams.
We could have thrown Villanova into this conversation.
Yeah.
Certainly the question is about who can replace the big fella, but they have a lot of people back.
They do.
We could have easily thrown Nova in here. But
Texas is a wild card. Texas is a real wild card for me.
But I think what you said to me a couple weeks ago is so true. Yeah. I don't know if we've ever said it on this podcast. Sorry for putting you out there like this.
Yeah, you say it.
But they have a lot of guys that haven't won a lot of games. They have a lot of talent. But you look at like Timmy Allen at Utah, they have not been good since he's been there. Marcus Carr in Minnesota, they were not that good with him there. They were good players there, but
I think whoever, and this simplifies things, but Texas has Marcus Carr, Baylor is Akinjo, Kansas is Remy Martin. I almost feel like whoever out of those three really buys in, because they're all like more scoring. Akinjo was actually probably more of a facilitator than the other two, but I feel like whoever buys in to just kind of being a good team guy, I feel like that team probably wins the Big 12. I don't think there's a ton of separation between those three.
No, the Big 12 is going to be a fantastic league to watch this year. It always is, honestly. It always is.